The PBA League has returned, and I don't know about you, but I've been missing PBA TV coverage as it's been a couple of months since the last event we saw on national TV. I guess you'd call this the off-season before the schedule kicks into full gear at the start of 2024. So it's great to get to see some of the PBA action, and also the PBA League is great because we see a diverse selection of PBA players that we might not normally see on TV in standard events. What struck me when watching this year's event so far is the amount of misses we've seen from the pros. There's been a number of easy single pin misses and a fair few players struggling. But there's already been some highlights too, with old faces showing us they still have game. And there's an even older face reminding us why he's one of the best of all time. So we're going to get into all of that and break everything down. Let's just quickly recap the format and what rounds we've actually seen so far. There are 10 teams in total and they've played 10 games in the seeding round on Saturday the 23rd of September. The top 1 and 2 teams would receive a bye to the semi-finals, while the teams in positions 3, 4 and 5 would go through to the quarterfinals. All hope was not lost for the remaining 5 teams however, as there was one more spot up for grabs for the 6th seed. So the 5 teams would play a stepladder to determine the 6th seed, and this was shown live on FS1 on Sunday night. Let's take a look at what went down. Match 1 was the 9th seed versus the 10th, the Chicago Breeze, who used to be known as the Hitmen, facing the Milwaukee Pounders. The format for these matches is simple. It's a 5-man baker, so each player bowls 2 frames in total, with the anchor bowling quite possibly the hardest job, bowling frames 5 and 10. The pattern they're bowling on is the Mark Roth pattern, and it was actually a really strong start from both teams. The Breeze had the first 4 strikes and the Pounders had the first 3, but then AJ Chapman missed right, leaving the 1-3-6. Thomas Calco then went Brooklyn for the Chicago Breeze to end their run of strikes. For the first 5 shots of the match, each team stuck to one lane, and then for the next 5, they swap over to the opposite lane. The right lane looks to be playing a lot tougher, and the Breeze found that out after Jake Peters left the 2-4-10 split for an open frame, and then Kevin Williams went light, leaving the double wood. The Pounders took control, and this team includes the Lavery Spa brothers, and they were the standout early on, with both of them making some very nice shots. The Breeze did fight back, and it forced the Pounders' anchorman Sean Rash to get 19 pins in the 10th frame. Classic Sean Rash here as he balks on the first shot, but he comes up clutch getting a double, and the Pounders advance to meet the LAX. And this LA team is stacked as it features Stu Williams, Kevin McCune, Thomas Larson, Jacob Buttroff and Jason Belmonte. A strike from Dick Allen got the Pounders started, and then after Larson's strike for LA, Buttroff went through the nose, leaving the 2-4-6-10. Anthony Lavery Spa kept going strong with another strike for the Pounders, and his brother Sean followed this up with a strike of his own to give them 3 in a row. LA were trying to hang in there with strikes from Williams and Belmonte, but the Pounders carried on and had the front 5. LA's deficit increased after Larson put this one way inside and left the 6-10. Dick Allen made it 6 in a row and earned the team a $1,000 bonus from the sponsor Blue Ribbon. The run would end, however, after a wobbling 10-pin would not fall. A split in the 8th from Stu Williams would be the nail in the coffin for LA, and the Pounders would advance again to meet the 7th seed, the Waco Wonders. Let's take a look at a shot from the 2nd frame that came from Frank Snodgrass, as it shows you that the players don't have much room at all on the outside, especially on the right lane. This shot never picks up and leaves the 1-3-6, which he does spare. We then get a strike for the Pounders from Lavery Spa, and then a very smooth shot from BJ Moore for the Wonders. As I mentioned earlier, now we're seeing quite a few players we don't normally see too often on TV, and it's great to watch them in action. AJ Chapman delivers their first mistake for the Pounders with a shot that didn't quite come back, which resulted in an open frame. Now we turn to a bowler we haven't seen too much of in recent years, but this is a guy who's still got it and is criminally underrated, I would say. Ryan Ciminelli, and he came out firing straight away with a strike. And to be honest, he still looks as deadly as he did about 15 years ago when he came out onto the tour. Dick Allen struck for the Pounders in the 6th, and so far he's been crucial for them, throwing some excellent strikes. definitely a standout performance at this point. And another standout guy, Anthony Lavery-Spa, makes it a double. The Wonders started to respond in the 8th, however, when BJ Moore struck. And now we go over to the Hall of Famer and PBA legend, 60-year-old Parker Bohn III, who needed to make it a double for the Wonders, and he does so with a crucial strike in the 9th. Now it's over to Rash for the Pounders, and he's been clutch for them up to this point. He strikes in the first shot of the 10th, and then gets another vital strike. In the field shot, however, he goes light for an 8 count, and this was pretty huge as it now meant that Ryan Ciminelli only needed 1 strike and then a 9 in the 10th. Ciminelli threw 2 blistering strikes and just reminded the bowling world what he's about as the Wonders stopped the Pounders in their tracks. Now it would be the final match of the day, and this would be the one that decided who would be the 6th seed in the quarterfinals. The Wonders would take on the Motown Muscle, which included 2 of the best in the game right now, EJ Tackett and Anthony Simonson. Now, just a warning here, because at this point the quality of bowling does take a considerable dip in places. We've seen some players struggle, but now the wheels really do start to come off for some. In frame 1 for the Muscle, Sam Cooley left the 2-8-10 for an open frame. In frame 2 we saw Nathan Bohn, somebody we haven't seen on TV for a very long time, and he leaves a 10 pin which he actually misses to make it back-to-back open frames. And things just got worse and worse for them as Mitch Hooper missed a 10 pin by an absolute mile. Now let's look at the Wonders, who went spare strike spare, and then Parker Bohn threw a strike in the 4th. Ciminelli follows this up with a strike, and I don't know what else I can say about this guy, just unbelievable, and it gives them a 43 pin lead. Now we get our first look at EJ Tackett for the Muscle, and what else do we expect from him but a strike? So after 5 frames it's the Wonders with an advantage of 33 pins. Skipping ahead to the 8th, the Muscle are still down by 30, and it's basically a must-strike situation. Mitch Hooper gets a great break going high but tripping the 4 pin out. Parker is light in the 9th for the Wonders and doesn't really get any help on the 3 pin, unfortunately. Simonson then gets a crucial strike in the 9th, and now things are basically in the hands of Ciminelli for the Wonders, as 3 strikes in the 10th means they cannot lose. And with the way he's played so far, it shouldn't come as any surprise that he drills all 3 strikes. EJ must get all 3 to tie, but the first shot is slightly high and leaves a 4 pin, which means that the Wonders are the winners of the play-in and will be the 6th seed in the quarterfinals. Now the quarterfinals were played last night on Monday the 25th of September, so let's just look very briefly at some of the main highlights. There were 2 matches, and this time it was a race to 2 points. Match 1 was the High Rollers versus the Atom Splitters, and match 2 featured the Kingpins versus the 6th seed, the Wonders. Match 1 saw early struggles for both teams, with Francois Leroy for the High Rollers leaving the 4-6-7, and then Richie Teese for the Atom Splitters left a split himself, the 6-7. After 5 frames there's only 1 player who has a strike, and that's two-handed lefty Matt Russo. The left-hand side definitely looks a lot easier out there. The right side, especially the right lane, is getting a lot of over-under and a ton of splits. Chris Vai leaves a split in the 3rd, and this is the 2nd open frame for the Splitters. We then see AJ Johnson for the first time, coming off his first ever PBA win at the Lucky Larson Masters in Sweden, who gets a strike. Jesper then gets a much needed strike for the Splitters, and we can see again the left hand side looks the place to be. Richie Teese leaves his 2nd split in frame 6, the 2-4-8-10, and things don't get too much better for them as Tom Doherty misses the 2-8 in the 9th, and the High Rollers will take game 1. And it was much of the same in game 2, with the High Rollers taking care of business quite convincingly to advance to the semis. Now we go to match 2, and there's just one guy that I particularly want to focus on here, but before we do, let's just quickly take a look at this leave from Packy in the 5th. Now let's take a look once again at Ryan Ciminelli. We saw what he did in the quarterfinals, but this is now a day on from that. Well, nothing has changed, and he's still firing on all cylinders. He's up in the 10th once again and has a chance to shut out the Kingpins. He gets the first strike and is pretty unlucky to leave the 7 pin on this next shot. Even so, he's making great shots, and we haven't even seen him miss the pocket yet. Ciminelli's efforts would be enough to see the Wonders take game 1. The Wonders now had all the momentum and started game 2 with the first 5 strikes to give them a lead of 55 pins at the halfway point. Sterner made it 6 in a row, but the run ends after Snodgrass left a 4-pin in the 7th. Parker stepped up in the 9th and threw another nice looking strike to put an end to this one, and the Wonders advanced to the semi-finals. Parker Bohn and Ryan Ciminelli worked incredibly well as the 4th and 5th players, and both of them stepped up at key moments both on Sunday and Monday's matches. The other players really did back them up, and if they all carry on like this, they would be my pick to win. At 60 years of age, Parker Bohn III was pretty unbelievable in both Sunday and Monday's telecast. It's incredible how he just seems to keep going, and he's able to come out under the TV lights and still give a fantastic performance. Outside of him, obviously the main highlight was Ryan Ciminelli, who was just on it both days, and I'm sure that in the semi-finals he's going to come up clutch for them many times again. I found both of these telecasts incredibly enjoyable, and there was definitely a number of standout performances and from guys that we probably would not have expected to see shine. I will definitely be tuning into the semi-finals and the finals, which you can watch tonight, which is the semi-finals Tuesday the 26th on FS1 at 8 PM Eastern Time, and the finals are on Wednesday at 8 PM as well. And that is going to bring us to an end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown and analysis of this year's PBA League action, and I will probably do a video breaking down the semi-finals and the finals match as well. So until then, I hope you continue to enjoy the PBA League action, and thank you all for watching. As always, thank you bowling fans, and see you all next time.